was, "Who was that girl you were with?" "She's just a friend," I answered. That was it. He didn't take it anywhere else. Wasn't interesting enough. It's one of the few times during my tenure on the show where I was able to avoid playing out a personal drama on the air. Too bad it happened to be the exact 2 minutes that Nancy was listening. After this exchange, she called me, and without even saying hello, said, "Who was she?" "She was just a friend," I parroted myself, but she wasn't convinced. After that, we broke up. And then we got back together, and then we broke up again. It was a cycle that went on for months, until the night we broke up for good. Fred, his wife Allison, Nancy, and I had gone to see Springsteen at the Nassau Coliseum. I was feeling pretty good. The four of us went out after the show, and then when Fred and Allison left, Nancy and I went to a local bar. But something was off. Nancy wasn't so into the music. We weren't talking the way we always had. Finally, she said to me, "I don't think we should be together if you aren't into it." It was odd phrasing, like she wanted me to say, "No, I'm into it," but I didn't say anything. "But if you are into it, we don't have to break up." The truth was, I wasn't into it. At least I thought I wasn't into it. I was still running around, checking my options. Only I was too much of a coward to completely break it off with her. I didn't want to hurt her, for one, and I liked having something steady. In that bar at that moment, after seeing my favorite act of all time, I decided to be the asshole who makes the girl break up with you so you don't have to break up with her. Honestly, I was thinking she would always be there for me, so I wasn't too worried about it. I should have been, because Nancy wasn't just breaking up with me to sample the single life. While we were dating, she had gone to school to become a medical technologist and began working at a hospital. She had started seeing someone she met there. If I was going to be a schmuck, she wasn't going to bother with me while someone who treated her well waited on the sidelines. It's such a cliche, but after Nancy dumped me, I became interested again. I called her repeatedly. Sometimes she'd speak with me, but other times she'd cryptically say she had to go. I'd ask if her new boyfriend was there. She would say yeah, and then hang up. I was so bummed out I told Jackie. He got it right away. He said, "In your mind, when she says that, she's on the bed with the guy on top of her, and she's telling you to hold on while she tells him, 'That's it, just a little bit to the left. Yep, that's it. Okay, Gary, I have to go.'" I kept calling, and we talk every once in a while, but she rebuffed all my efforts to see her. This went on for 7 months, and I never stopped thinking about her. By this time, my buddy Frank was married. His wife Marianne and Nancy were good friends, so I got updates on how she was doing pretty regularly. I looked for clues in the smallest details as to how she felt. Just because she broke up with me, it didn't mean she stopped loving me, right? That's what I was thinking the day Frank told me that Nancy still had me in her speed dial. Okay, I thought, I have a chance. But then, one day, Frank drove me home from the city for the weekend. I was going to his house for a party later that night and planned on hanging there until it started. But when we pulled into his driveway, Nancy's car was there. I had just been telling him how much I missed her, so I was excited to see her. I started to open the door when he stopped me. "It's better if you don't go in," he said. I let go of the door and slumped low in the front seat. It really was over. Done. I had lost her because I was a dick. I was pretty beat up about it and happened to tell someone at the office. Naturally, it got back to Howard, who called me into the studio while we were on the air. It was May 12th, 1988, toward the end of the broadcast. This is the kind of thing that never happens at IBM. "How are you doing on the woman front?" Howard asked. Okay. "If you ask me, you should have never broken up with that girlfriend." "Oh no, here we go. You knew it was coming," Robin, Fred, and Jackie chimed in. "You're a loser," Howard said. "You're an imbecile. You finally meet a good-looking woman who's polite, knows how to deal with me, and she's probably dating someone else." "Let's just end the show," I said. "You lost her." "Oh, he's crying. Who are you, Patrick Swayze? How come you never told me about this?" "I'm not going to tell you everything." "Well, someone better get to the bottom of the story. I'll take this up tomorrow on the air." "I haven't seen you this happy in weeks," I said. "Because you're an idiot. I told you to stay with her. Are you kicking yourself in the head?" "Can we just end the show?" "Really, are you that bad about it?" "Come on, let it ride, boss." "You were in love with her." "Cut me a break." After that, he mercifully signed off. But it's the one time in my life on the air that I was genuinely upset. Before I left for the day, I was in the bathroom washing my hands when Howard walked in. I asked him, "Hey man, can you lay off about this one a little bit?" He looked at me and he said, "Are you kidding? Grow up."
Chapter 9. Conspiracies, Roy Rogers, Tampons, and Finding My Calling.
My mom was always overly protective. When it came to her 3 boys, she was a tigress. That's why she ran to the park and left me at home to find out what happened when I got the concussion. And that's how she ended up calling Howard's mom to complain about his bullying me on the air. You can't fault her for that. I like to think that's why she sniffed my head every time I came home. I know that's why she jumped out of the closet when Anthony came back from the Doors concert. She worried about us obsessively in a way that couldn't have been good for someone who was battling so many demons. When Anthony had his prom, my mom helped him pick out his suit. Before most proms, a bunch of couples get together at someone's house for pictures with their dates, and all the parents come too. But after he got dressed, Anthony decided he didn't want my mom to follow him to his date's house for pictures. So when he left the house, my mom recruited a neighbor, and they followed him in the neighbor's car. Then she hid behind a tree across from Anthony's date's house and watched him take his prom pictures. I don't see that as her stalking. It's just a mom who's proud of her boy, no matter how much he tries to push her away. And I'm sure my mom isn't the only mother who did this. We had 2 telephones in our house. When it rang, I'd often pick it up first, and then hear my mom pick up the other phone after. If it was for me, I'd say, "Mom, hang up, please." But there'd be silence. She didn't answer, and she didn't hang up. But I knew she was still on the phone. I'd say it again. Nothing. My mom wouldn't speak up or hang up. Then I'd quickly sneak into her room and catch her putting down the phone just as I walked in. Moms are nosy. They want to know who their kids are talking to. Except that my mom didn't take anything at face value. She saw conspiracies everywhere, even in the most mundane things. There were no accidents. Part of this was her illness finding its way to the surface, even during her balance moments. But I also think it was a function of her being Italian. A wrong number wasn't just a wrong number, it was a plot. I always knew when it happened, just by listening to my mom's side of the conversation. "Hello," she'd say. Then, Bob who? How do you know Bob? What's your business with Bob? Then finally, "There's no Bob here, sorry." Long before we ever had Jim Florentine on the show terrorizing telemarketers, I heard my mom doing the same thing to unsuspecting salespeople who called our house. They would be begging to get off the phone after she grilled them about what they were selling and why. I knew these calls could be mine for comedy just by sitting in my kitchen and listening to my mom destroy people on Long Island. By the time I was in 10th grade, for the first time in my life, I felt stable. I was out of the house so often, at Frank's or Vinny's or at practice for one team or another, that I was around my mom's mood swings less and less. Mostly I saw her act out during the holidays when she was having family over. She'd start shopping and cooking days in advance and always insisted on cooking large. Half the stuff, like stuffed